It started with fire. Not the kind we'd known since the caveman days, but something worse. Plasma lances, burning the skies red and white. I still remember standing on my balcony in Chicago that night, whiskey in one hand, watching a streak of light arc down from orbit and gut the Sears Tower like it was cardboard. The shockwave shattered windows for blocks. The heat seared my face. My name's Jack Halverson, former Marine, 3rd Battalion, retired after Kandahar. Didn't think I'd see war again. Not on my own soil. But those bastards, the Zalek, they called themselves, made sure of it. They didn't come in peace. No "we come in friendship" broadcasts. No smiling alien diplomats. They hit without warning. First strike orbital bombardment on major cities. New York, London, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo. Gone. Millions dead in the first hour. Earth's satellites caught glimpses of their ships. Long, needle-shaped things, bristling with energy weapons. They didn't bother trying to talk. They just hit us hard and fast, thinking they'd win in a day. They thought wrong. I joined up again the second I could. Governments fell, but the militaries didn't. In the States, President Granger, a hard bastard, declared full martial law and a total war footing. The survivors regrouped. Old grudges between nations vanished overnight. We were human first now. By week 2, we'd started fighting back. They had better tech, sure, but they didn't understand one thing. We don't give up. Ever. I was deployed with the 5th Resistance Corps, an ugly mix of ex-military, cops, and pissed-off civilians. We hit their forward drop zones in what was left of Detroit. Urban combat like you wouldn't believe. They had walkers with energy shields, plasma rifles that could melt steel. We had Molotovs, jury-rigged rocket launchers, and sheer hate. I saw a buddy of mine, Darren, get his leg blown off by one of their drones. He bled out in my arms, cursing them to the last breath. That was the moment it stopped being about survival for me. It became about payback. Word spread. The Zalek didn't take prisoners. They turned captured humans into genetic experiments or simply vaporized them for population control. That's what they called it. Population control. They thought they were superior, thought we were insects to be crushed. They didn't understand the kind of monsters we could become when cornered. The turning point came when a downed Zalek cruiser crash-landed outside Pittsburgh. Intelligence teams went in, recovered their command corps. Our scientists, and I use that term loosely because they damn near tortured the thing, cracked their language and learned one thing: their homeworld, coordinates, planet Karvath. President Granger didn't hesitate. No negotiation, no attempt at peace. We were going to burn their world to ash. I was selected for the first wave. Orbital fleet cobbled together from old warships, repurposed cargo haulers, and stolen Zalek tech. It was a suicide mission, but none of us cared. We weren't going there to survive. We were going to make damn sure they never rose again. The ship we rode to Karvath wasn't built for comfort. The USS Mjolnir was an old, decommissioned UN assault carrier from the mid-21st century. Half its systems ripped out and replaced with salvaged Zalek tech. The hull creaked constantly under the strain of the new gravity engines, and the recycled air stank of oil and sweat. Didn't matter. None of us cared about coming back. There were about 400 of us packed aboard. Marines, Army grunts, hardened resistance fighters, few scientists and engineers tagging along to handle the payload, but mostly killers, same as me. We all knew what we were bringing: hell in a bottle. The eggheads had reverse-engineered the Zalek antimatter warheads from the downed Pittsburgh cruiser. We were carrying a dozen of them, big enough to glass a continent each. We weren't going for a surgical strike. We weren't going to topple their government. We were going to exterminate their species. And you know what? Not a single man on that ship felt guilty about it. After what they'd done to Earth, to our families, our cities, our kids, mercy wasn't on the table. I sat in the launch bay most days, cleaning my old M41 rifle, same one I'd carried through Kandahar. Modern Zalek plasma rifles were more powerful, but I didn't trust them. Too finicky. The M41 was reliable, and at close range, it'd still put a hole in anything breathing. I'd carved names into the stock: Darren, for my buddy who bled out; Emily, for my sister, lost when Boston burned. Every man in that bay had names. We didn't talk about them. We didn't need to. A week into the voyage, we crossed into Zalek space. Their patrols picked us up quick. Sleek black ships with curved wings, faster than anything we had. But by then, humanity had learned dirty tricks. Old space mines, electromagnetic decoys, even suicide drones built out of scrap. We lost 3 escort ships in the first clash, but we gutted their fleet worse. By the time we reached Karvath's orbit, their skies were bleeding debris. That's when we saw it. Their homeworld. Karvath was a green-blue jewel hanging against the void. Beautiful, if you didn't know better. 2 large continents, shimmering oceans, thick cloud cover. Looked almost like Earth once. Now it was going to die. The Mjolnir's bridge was packed when President Granger's last transmission came through. Audio only, grainy and harsh. This is for Chicago, for New York, for every life they tried to erase. Show them what humans do to enemies. No surrender, no survivors. The drop order came moments later. We geared up in silence. Sealed armor, breather rigs, rifles loaded. No stirring speeches. We didn't need them. Everyone knew why they were here. As the launch pod sealed around us, I closed my eyes and gripped my rifle. Thought of Earth, burning. Thought of the faces lost. No mercy. No survivors. The pods hit atmosphere like meteors, screaming down through clouds. Turbulence slammed us around in our harnesses, metal groaning under the force. Then, impact. The doors blew open, and we stormed out into hell. Karvath's air was heavier than Earth's, thick with ammonia. The sky was a sickly green. We dropped into one of their primary hive cities, Vrathun, they called it, a sprawl of spires and domes built into the black rock. The Zalek were waiting. They poured out of the structures in waves, tall, 6-limbed things with scaled hides and curved bone plate armor. Plasma bolts rained down from turrets, slicing through the first wave of our men. We gave it back tenfold. The M41 kicked hard against my shoulder as I laid into the bastards, rounds tearing through armor, spraying blue blood across the stone. To my left, Ramirez dropped 3 with a grenade launcher. On my right, old Sergeant Keene charged straight into a squad, shotgun blasting limbs apart. For every one of us that fell, we took 5 of them. No quarter. No hesitation. Their young screamed from tunnels beneath the city. We wired the entrances with explosives and collapsed them. No escape. By hour 3, half the city was burning. Their air defenses were down. The Mjolnir's crew began orbital bombardment, hammering their industrial sectors to slag. But we weren't done. We wanted them to see us. Room by room, street by street, we cleared Vrathun. Civilians, warriors, didn't matter. The orders were clear. Total extinction. I found a group of their high caste leaders cowering in a crystalline tower. They tried to offer surrender. One even spoke rough English. We can negotiate. I shot it in the face before it finished the sentence. After what they did to Earth, no negotiation. By nightfall, the city was gone. Fires raged across the skyline. The antimatter warheads were prepped and planted in the planetary capital. Detonation was scheduled for dawn. In the final hours, I stood atop the ruins of their central temple, looking out across the burning horizon. We'd done it. We'd broken them. But it wasn't enough. Not for me. I led a squad into the breeding chambers below the capital, massive biopits where they spawned their young. The stench was unbearable. Larvae squirmed in vats of nutrient slime. Without hesitation, we set charges throughout the chambers. When those pits blew, the shockwave rattled the surface. Their future died with them. Dawn came. The Mjolnir signaled the countdown. I watched from orbit as the antimatter warheads detonated, blinding light, then a ripple of destruction that scoured continents. Oceans boiled, skies burned. Karvath was no longer a world. It was a tomb. As the fleet turned back toward Earth, silence filled the comms. No cheers, no victory songs. We'd done what had to be done. But none of us would ever be the same. I looked at the names carved into my rifle one last time. Darren, Emily. They were avenged. But in the void of space, as Karvath's ashes faded behind us, I knew one truth. Humanity had changed that day. We were no longer just survivors. We were the monsters the galaxy would fear. Coming back to Earth wasn't what I expected. We docked at Orbital Station Dauntless, a half-finished ring around Earth cobbled together after the first Zelek attacks. From the portholes, I could see the planet, scarred, dark in patches where entire cities had been erased. The scars of war ran deep. I'd expected some kind of welcome. A speech, maybe. A parade. After all, we'd done the impossible. We'd burned Karvath to the ground. Humanity had struck back so hard, there wasn't a Zalek left alive in the galaxy. But no one celebrated. When the shuttle touched down in what was left of Andrews Air Force Base, the air was thick with ash and silence. There was no band, no cameras, just rows of tired, hard-faced soldiers processing survivors and returning units. A grim-faced colonel met us on the tarmac. His name was Colonel Briggs. No salute, no handshake, just a curt nod. "You're home. Get checked. Debriefing at 0600. That was it. We filed off the shuttle in silence. I caught my reflection in a cracked window, gaunt, eyes sunken, beard grown wild. We all looked the same. Hardened, hollow. The men who'd come back from Karvath weren't the same ones who'd left. Inside the debriefing hall, a younger officer, too clean, too soft, read off statistics. Zalek forces eradicated. No signs of escape pods or surviving craft. Planet rendered uninhabitable. Mission classified as total success. Then the kicker. Casualties on Earth remain at 12 billion. Global infrastructure collapse ongoing. Food shortages in all major zones. Martial law remains in effect. I looked around. 12 billion. That number hit harder than any plasma round. We'd avenged the dead, but Earth was still bleeding. Half the world was rubble. Entire countries had vanished. The old order was gone. In its place, one government, one military, the United Terran Command. They didn't call it a dictatorship, but everyone knew. President Granger was now Supreme Commander. There were no more elections, no more debate. You were either part of the military or you were nobody. And the ones who'd gone to Karvath? We were heroes and monsters, both. The public didn't know what we'd done. Not really. The broadcast had been sanitized. Strategic strikes. Defensive action. No mention of genocide. But the men who came back knew. And it showed. I spent weeks wandering what was left of Chicago, my old home. The bones of skyscrapers jutted up like broken teeth. Streets were choked with rubble. The air still stank of smoke and decay. Survivors picked through ruins like rats. Military patrols kept order. Barely. Food was rationed. Clean water was worth more than gold. I tried to visit my old apartment. Found it gone. A crater where the building had stood. Stood there a long time, staring at the hole in the ground. That was when a kid, maybe 10, filthy and thin, tugged at my sleeve. "Mister, you one of the soldiers?" I looked down at him. His eyes were too old for his face. "Yeah, I was." He nodded. No smile. Just that hollow look. "They say you killed them all." I didn't answer. What could I say? He ran off before I could think of a reply. That was the world now. A few days later, orders came through. Mandatory re-enlistment for all veterans of the Karvath strike. No choice, no protest. We were the new Terran Shock Corps, humanity's first interstellar army. Rumors swirled. The Zalek weren't the only threat. Other species had watched the war. Some were afraid, others were furious. Word was, fleets were mobilizing out beyond known space. And Earth? We weren't waiting this time. We'd learned one lesson. Strike first, strike hard, leave nothing standing. The briefing halls filled again. New faces joined the old. Veterans, volunteers, even conscripts. Some came for revenge, others for survival. Me? I had nothing left but the war. Colonel Briggs addressed us. Listen up. The galaxy knows what we did to Karvath. Some will bow, some will fight. Doesn't matter. From this point forward, humanity is no one's prey. We are the apex, and you are the blade. We all knew what that meant. No more defense, no more waiting. We were going to take the fight to the stars. In the weeks that followed, the Shock Corps trained hard. New ships, new weapons, all built with stolen Zalek tech, fused with human ingenuity, faster engines, deadlier guns, improved armor. The first fleet was already being assembled. Task Force Nemesis. Its mission? Simple. Find potential threats. Eradicate them before they could strike Earth. No diplomacy. No hesitation, just total dominance. I signed on without question. They didn't even need to ask. The old me, the man who'd once fought in dusty earthbound wars, was gone. Now I was something else. A soldier without pity, without restraint. A human weapon. And as I stood in the docking bay of our new flagship, USS Revenant, watching the stars beyond, one thought burned in my mind. The galaxy had fired the first shot. Humanity would fire the last. The USS Revenant wasn't built for comfort. It was built for war, a kilometer-long dagger of alloyed steel and scorched Zalek composites. Its hull bristled with mass drivers, rail cannons, plasma lances, and missile silos. The engine core pulsed with stolen gravity warp tech, the same kind the Zalek had used to cross the stars. Now we were using it to hunt their kind, or anyone else who might dare take their place. The Task Force Nemesis was the first wave, 50 ships in all. The Revenant led them, a black-flagged vanguard of humanity's rage, crewed by veterans of the Earth War and the Karvath strike. I was assigned to Strike Team Echo, one of the Revenant's primary boarding units. First in, last out. We weren't there to negotiate. We were there to cleanse. Our orders were clear. Any alien species with the capacity for interstellar warfare is to be preemptively neutralized. No exceptions. No mercy. The message had spread fast across the human ranks. Never again. Never again would Earth be caught unprepared. Never again would our cities burn while the stars watched coldly. The galaxy would learn. Humans strike first now. Our first target was a system called Erythra 9, Fringe World, recently scouted by a recon drone. Signs of advanced energy signatures, orbital structures, possible fleet mobilization. Intelligence was thin, didn't matter. The doctrine was simple. If they could pose a threat, they died. Strike first. Erase. Move on. No one questioned it. Not anymore. We dropped into the Erythra system after a 3-day warp burn. The Revenant tore out of subspace with its guns already primed. Before us hung a red star, surrounded by debris fields, and a single rocky world. Erythra Prime. Sensors lit up immediately, multiple contacts. The locals, the Therics, we later learned, had orbital stations and a small fleet. Corvette-class ships, sleek and fast, armed with plasma arrays. They launched the moment they detected us. Big mistake. The Revenant's spinal rail cannon, a city-sized mass driver running the length of the ship, fired once. The lead enemy cruiser vanished in a flash of molten debris. Within minutes, the rest were dust. Human gunnery had evolved fast. We weren't fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting for dominance. With space clear, the Revenant launched drop pods. My team geared up, full shock armor, grav chutes, close quarters loadouts. I checked my old M41, now modified with grav stabilizers and plasma penetrator rounds. Still reliable, still deadly. As the pod door sealed around us, our squad leader, Captain Hawk, spoke one sentence. Rules of engagement, none. We all nodded. No one hesitated. The pod screamed down through Erythra Prime's atmosphere, heat shearing across the hull. Turbulence slammed us in our harnesses. The ride never got easier. I didn't care. I just wanted the hatch to open. When it did, we stormed into a city of black stone towers and crimson banners. The locals were bipedal, insectoid, armored in natural chitin. Fast, agile, but they'd never fought humans before. And it showed. Our first volley shredded their outer defenses. Thermobaric grenades cleared bunkers. Mass drivers tore through walls. We advanced street by street, no prisoners, no negotiations. I kicked in a hatchway, laid down fire. 3 Therix warriors dropped, their bodies folding in on themselves with sick, wet cracks. A female, an unarmed, tried to shield a smaller one, maybe a juvenile. I shot them both without thinking. The faces of my squad didn't change. No one spoke. We weren't here to show mercy. We were here to send a message. Humanity remembers. And now, we make sure the stars remember too. The local militia broke fast. They weren't ready for human close-quarters brutality. While their warriors relied on elegant plasma arcs and ranged precision, we fought dirty. Scatterguns, flamers, knives when needed. Captain Hawk led from the front, shotgun booming. I saw him take a plasma hit to the shoulder, stumble, and keep going. We were monsters to these things. When we reached their central command spire, a delegation tried to surrender. They broadcast a message on all channels, crude but clear. Parley. Peace, no war. We yield. Hawk didn't even glance at the comms. Breaching charges, he ordered. We blew the doors, stormed inside, killed every last one of them. Commanders, staff, civilians, didn't matter. By the time we secured the spire, the entire city burned. Orbital scans showed the other cities mobilizing. The Revenant responded with orbital bombardment. Kinetic rods, tungsten slugs dropped from orbit, flattened entire regions. In under 6 hours, Erythra Prime was pacified. When we regrouped at the extraction point, the sun was setting red behind smoke-choked skies. Captain Hawk surveyed the devastation and nodded once. Good work. Next target in 2 days. And that was it. No medals, no speeches, just another notch in humanity's belt. As we lifted off, I stared out the viewport at the ruins below. I didn't feel guilt. Not anymore. Not after Earth. The galaxy had fired the first shot. Now we were answering, with interest. The campaign accelerated. Word spread, humanity wasn't just defending anymore. We were on the march. In the weeks that followed, Task Force Nemesis hit 4 more systems, each time the same doctrine: identify threat potential, strike first, no survivors, no infrastructure left intact. Alien networks tried to organize, fleets mobilized, coalitions formed in the shadows. But they were too slow. Humanity had momentum. And we had something the others didn't. Hate, pure, cold hate, the kind that doesn't fade, doesn't forgive. We pushed deeper. My team hit Varnak Outpost, an alien trade hub. Same result, total purge. Then the Ilex colonies, a semi-aquatic species trying to field new plasma dreadnoughts. We erased their shipyards in a single strike. With each mission, we hardened. The hesitation faded. We became predators. The Revenant's hull bore new scars, plasma burns, gouges from close encounters. But it also bore new marks. Tallies of purged worlds, etched into the command deck's steel walls. By the third month, I'd personally cleared more alien rooms than I could count. I stopped keeping track. Names stopped mattering. Targets were targets. We didn't ask why they'd built ships, why they'd armed stations. We asked, could they be a threat? If the answer was yes, they died. That was the world now. That was humanity. One night, in the barracks, Hawk summed it up best. We were cleaning gear after a brutal sweep. The Brask skirmish, another race wiped out in 2 days. Blood still caked my armor joints. Hawk lit a smoke, a rare luxury, and exhaled slow. They should have left us alone, he said. No one argued. He was right. They'd struck Earth first, thought us weak, thought us prey. Now the galaxy would learn humans aren't prey. We are the reapers, and we weren't stopping. Not until every last potential threat was gone, or until there was no one left to fight. The first real resistance came at Valar's Reach. Up until then, the campaign had been brutal but one-sided. We hit fringe worlds, isolated colonies, small fleets. None of the bastards had been ready for the speed and ruthlessness of the human counteroffensive. But someone was learning. We'd just finished burning out a system called Hestara. Nothing special, another minor threat, when the Revenant picked up new intel. Recon drones, probing deeper into the Valar expanse, started vanishing. Whole squadrons gone without a trace. Then we intercepted comms chatter, encrypted alien signals, multiple species. They were organizing. After Karvath, after Erythra, after Hestara, the galaxy was waking up. The old rivalries between species were getting shoved aside. Fear was a hell of a motivator. Now, for the first time, humanity wasn't the only apex predator in the stars. High Command didn't hesitate. Neither did we. Valar's Reach was flagged as a Category 1 threat zone. Full fleet mobilization. Task Force Nemesis jumped in with everything we had. The Revenant, 4 dreadnoughts, 10 cruisers, dozens of support vessels. I'd never seen so many human war banners flying at once. We knew this wouldn't be another easy sweep. And we were right. Valar's Reach was a damn fortress. 3 inhabited worlds, an asteroid belt turned into a weapons grid, 6 fleets of mixed alien warships. The Coalition had teeth, Karnathi destroyers, brutal close-range brawlers with ramming spines, Therix survivors, the bugs we'd hit on Erythra, now fielding bigger ships. Valari motherships, massive, slow, bristling with heavy plasma batteries. And something worse, Zalek remnants. We hadn't killed them all. Some of their fleet had fled before Karvath fell, and now they were here, allied with the others. That alone was enough to set our blood boiling. The orders came through. Engage. No withdrawal, no quarter. The Revenant led the charge. We punched straight into the heart of the system, mass drivers and rail cannons firing in continuous arcs. The sky turned to fire. For the first time, the aliens fought smart. Coordinated strikes, layered defenses, kamikaze runs on our support ships. We started taking losses, real losses. The USS Valkyrie, a heavy cruiser, was gutted by Valari plasma lances. 200 crew gone in seconds. The Indomitable, another dreadnought, was swarmed by Karnathi rammers. It held, but barely, limped back on half power, and in the thick of it, Strike Team Echo, my team, got the call. Boarding action. Target, Valari mothership. Designation, Oblivion's Fang. We didn't hesitate. We never did. The drop was hell. Plasma flak filled the void. 2 of our pods shredded before we even made contact. Our pod slammed hard into the mothership's flank, metal groaning around us. The hatch blew. We stormed into a nightmare. The interior was a maze of organic architecture, wet, pulsing walls, acidic atmosphere. The Valari were aquatic-turned spaceborne, their bodies long and sinuous, armored in bone and biometal, and they fought like demons. We advanced room by room, pulse rifles and scatterguns clearing the corridors. The air stank of burnt flesh and ozone. I saw Gonzalez, one of our newer grunts, get impaled by a bio-spike trap, screamed for a second, then gone. No time to mourn. We pushed on. Our objective was the ship's power core. Take it out, cripple the beast. But the deeper we went, the worse it got. The Valari weren't just fighting. They were desperate. They knew what we'd done to Karvath. They knew surrender wasn't an option. We were monsters in their eyes. And we lived up to it. In the core chamber, they threw everything at us. Elite guards, suicide drones, even unarmed crew trying to swarm us. Didn't matter. We cleared them all. Planted charges. Blew the damn core. The mothership tore itself apart as we exfiltrated, emergency thrusters barely getting us clear before the hull collapsed. In orbit, the fight was still raging. Human losses were mounting. 5 ships down, several more crippled. But we had momentum. The Revenant's captain, Admiral Stroud, ordered a full saturation strike. Orbital bombardment, kinetic rods, antimatter warheads. No more holding back. The alien fleet broke under the onslaught. The surviving Valari and Karnathi tried to flee, but the Revenant hunted them down, one by one. By the end of the second day, Velar's Reach was a graveyard, 3 planets burning, fleet debris choking orbit, the coalition shattered, but at a cost. When we finally stood down, over 1,000 human dead, 6 ships lost, and for the first time since Karvath, the enemy had drawn blood that hurt. In the debriefing hall, no one cheered. No one spoke. We'd won. But it hadn't been easy. And we all knew. This was just the beginning. The galaxy had seen Karvath. It had seen Erythra. Now it had seen Valar's Reach. And that humans could bleed. They'd come harder next time. Smarter. Stronger. But so would we. Admiral Stroud addressed the fleet over wide-band comms. This was their best shot, and we broke them. But hear this. They will come again. They will rally more. We will not stop. We will not falter. The stars belong to us now, and anyone who stands in our way will burn. I stood in the barracks later that night, looking at the scars on my armor, the names etched into my rifle. Darren, Emily, Gonzalez. The list grew. It always did. But so did our resolve. The galaxy had fired first. Now humanity was answering, and we weren't finished. Not by a long shot. After Valar's Reach, something changed. In us, in the enemy, in the war itself. We'd shattered their coalition, yes, but it had cost us. The first real blood. The first real pain. Task Force Nemesis had returned to human space battered, hulls scarred, crews hollow-eyed. And the reports coming in weren't good. Valar's fall hadn't broken the enemy spirit. It had galvanized them. Now they knew. Humanity wasn't invincible. Humanity could bleed. They were adapting. Alien intelligence networks were consolidating. Black market arms races were exploding. Factions that had warred for centuries were forging desperate alliances. Rumors spread of a new Grand Council, a pan-species war council dedicated to one goal, human extermination. And we doubled down. Earth's shipyards ran 24/7. Civilian sectors were gutted to feed the war machine. Factories converted to weapons plants. Entire generations pressed into military service. The old flags were gone. National borders meaningless. There was only one banner now. United Terran Command. One species, one purpose, one war. The Revenant docked at Fort Titan, a monstrous orbital shipyard wrapped around Luna. The moon itself now a fortress world. While the ship underwent repairs, we trained. Harder, meaner, close-quarters drills, zero-G assault tactics, alien anatomy kill zones, psychological desensitization. Humanity wasn't fighting for peace anymore. We were fighting for dominance, for survival. And deep down, for vengeance that would never be quenched. The men changed. I changed. My reflection in the barracks mirror was a stranger, lean, scarred, eyes cold as vacuum. The names on my rifle had grown: Darren, Emily, Gonzalez, Keene, Carter. Good men, gone. And I was still here, because I refused to fall. None of us spoke of peace anymore. That dream had died with the first plasma blasts over Earth. Now there was only the next target, and it came faster than we expected. Scouts brought word. Thal's syndicate, a loose confederation of mercantile worlds, was building a new fleet, massive, heavily armed, secretly funded by surviving factions of the old coalition. It wasn't ready yet, but when it was, it would rival anything humanity had. We couldn't allow that. Strike first, strike hard, leave nothing standing. That was still the doctrine. It always would be. Task Force Nemesis was redeployed before repairs were even complete. Half the crew still injured, supplies barely restocked. Didn't matter. The order was clear. Thal Syndicate is to be annihilated. Fleet assets, industrial capacity, biological centers, all of it. And so we jumped. The Thal Nexus was a dense system. 4 habitable worlds, 5 major shipyards orbiting a gas giant, asteroid mining fields bristling with automated defenses, a technological powerhouse, and one with billions of civilians scattered across its cities and colonies. But that didn't matter. Civilians built ships, civilians fueled fleets, civilians raised soldiers. There were no innocents now. Not in this war. We dropped into the system hard and fast, no preamble. The Revenant punched straight through their outer perimeter, guns blazing. The enemy response was fierce. Waves of Thal interceptors, swarm drones, heavy cruisers. We chewed through them. But this wasn't a rout. The Thal were prepared. Their ships fought in disciplined packs, shield harmonics shifting constantly. Our casualties started early. USS Vindicator, crippled. USS Black Sun, lost with all hands. But we pressed in, because that's what we did now. No retreat, no surrender, no mercy. Strike Team Echo was deployed to target one of their primary shipyards, Forge Nexus Prime, a city-sized construction ring housing thousands of workers and engineers. The drop was chaos. Enemy point defense fire shredded our first wave. Only 3 of our pods made it through. We hit the station hard. Breaching charges blowing bulkheads, flamers clearing defensive lines. And then we reached the core manufacturing floors. That's when the orders came down from high command. Direct, unambiguous, no survivors, total sterilization. I hesitated. For half a second. There were workers here, unarmed, terrified, running for shelter, families, younglings. But then I remembered Earth, the burning skies, the screams, the billions of dead, and I raised my rifle. We moved methodically through the station, room by room, hall by hall, no quarter, no exceptions. When it was over, the station was a charnel house. Blood slicked the walls. Fires burned uncontrolled. I don't remember how many I killed. I stopped counting. By the time we regrouped, the Revenant's orbital bombardment had begun. Kinetic strikes and antimatter warheads reducing the remaining shipyards to slag. Across the system, the same story played out. Thal worlds bombarded from orbit, industrial centers leveled, civilian transports intercepted and destroyed. In 3 days, the Thal Syndicate ceased to exist. Another threat erased, another notch on humanity's belt, but at a cost. When we returned to Fort Titan, the fleet was ragged. Crews burned out. Psych evaluations mandatory. But no one passed. No one cared. We weren't human anymore. Not really. We were weapons. And the galaxy knew it. Word spread fast. Across every comm channel, every black market network. Humanity will not stop. Humanity will not forgive. Humanity will burn the stars before it bows again. And still the war machine turned. New fleets, new weapons, new soldiers, younger and colder than the last. Earth itself had changed. The cities still standing were fortress cities now, industrialized, militarized, feeding the endless campaign. Civilians lived under constant martial law. Dissent wasn't tolerated. There was no going back. We were committed, all the way. In the barracks one night, Hawk, grizzled, half mad by now, looked at me across the table. "How many more, Jack?" I knew what he meant. How many more worlds would we burn? How many more races would we erase? I didn't answer, because deep down, I knew the truth. All of them. Every single one that could ever threaten Earth. Because they'd fired first. And now, until my last breath, I'd make sure they never rose again. We thought we had the galaxy on its knees after Valar's Reach and the Thal Syndicate. Word spread fast. Alien networks collapsed before we even arrived. Fleets abandoned, half-built. Colonies evacuated. They called us monsters now, across every frequency, every intercepted comm. The Butchers of Karvath. The Reapers from Sol. The Human Plague. I won't lie. We wore it like a badge of honor. We wanted them afraid. Wanted them to tremble when our ships tore out of warp. Wanted them to know, when Earth was struck, they doomed themselves. And it was working. The galaxy was bleeding, but bleeding things fight hardest when cornered. We were about to learn that. It started with a simple recon op. Intel flagged a ghost system. No known species claimed it, but deep space probes showed heavy energy readings, shield signatures, unknown ship movements, possible weapons development, possible coalition fallback base. Orders were clear. Investigate, eliminate. The Revenant led the task group, reinforced now, bigger, meaner. 3 new dreadnoughts, 15 cruisers, dozens of assault frigates. We were a hammer now, and we swung hard. The system was called K'tharr Expanse, a dense nebula with a dying star, wrecked planets and asteroid belts churning with magnetic storms. Hell to navigate. But we went in anyway. Our first hint something was wrong came fast. Automated probes vanished. No debris, no signals. Just gone. Then the outer patrols. 2 of our recon frigates, same story. Command thought it was cloaked mines or stealth ships. The truth was worse. We pressed deeper. Sensors fried constantly. The nebula played hell with targeting systems. Pilots had to fly manual. Crews were on edge. That's when the first contact came. Not Thal, not Karnathi, not Valari, not Zalek. Something new. The ships were black, organic metal hybrids, almost alive. No known configuration, no communications, no hails. They moved like predators, fast, silent, coordinated, and they hit us hard. The USS Harbinger, gone in 30 seconds, hull breached, entire crew lost. Then the Merciless, swarmed by spiked drones that tore through armor like paper. For the first time since Karvath, Task Force Nemesis was outmatched, outgunned, outmaneuvered, hunted. I stood on the Revenant's bridge as the battle unfolded, alarms blaring, void-lit space filled with debris and fire. Hawk's voice came through the strike team channel. "Ready to drop, no matter what." I checked my rifle. The names etched there burned in my mind. Darren, Emily, Gonzalez, Keene, Carter, Ramirez. Too many names. And there would be more. Because whatever these things were, they weren't fighting for defense. They were fighting to erase us. Command scrambled a desperate counterattack. Rail cannon volleys, saturation missile strikes. But the enemy ships adapted. Shields shifting frequency, armor healing mid-combat. It was like fighting shadows. And then, they boarded us, not with pods, not with breaching charges. They phased through, black tendrils of some unknown tech, slicing through the Revenant's hull like it wasn't there. Alarms howled, bulkheads sealed, emergency lights flickered red. Strike Team Echo mobilized, guns ready, nerves shot. When we met them in the lower decks, it wasn't like any boarding action before. They weren't soldiers, they were things. Two-legged, spined, eyeless, covered in obsidian armor that rippled like liquid. They didn't speak, didn't hesitate, just tore into us. I emptied half a mag before one even staggered. Another lunged, took down Mason right in front of me, ripping him apart. Hawk's shotgun roared, splattering one of the bastards across the bulkhead. We fought like demons. No fallback, no surrender. Because we knew, if these things reached the core, the Revenant was done. Room by room, deck by deck, we held. Blood slicked the floors. Smoke choked the air. When the last one fell, we were down to half a team. Armor shredded, ammo low, and the fight wasn't over. In orbit, the task force was in tatters. Half our ships destroyed, the rest barely holding. Admiral Stroud made the call none of us wanted to hear. Emergency withdrawal. All surviving units jump to fallback coordinates. Now, we limped out, engines screaming, half blind. And even then, those things chased us, slipping through warp like phantoms. We made it back to Fort Titan with less than a third of the force. The debrief was short and brutal. Unknown hostile species identified, technology beyond current models, capable of phasing, adaptive shielding, biological integration, designation, Voidkin. Threat level, extinction class. No one spoke in the briefing hall, no cheers, no bravado. Because we'd seen the truth. The galaxy wasn't finished. It had found new monsters, and for the first time in a long time, humanity was on the back foot. After K'tharr, everything changed. New training protocols, new weapons development, full rearmament of surviving fleets. The Revenant was pulled into dry dock for complete overhaul. Its blackened hull a grim testament to the fight we barely survived. Strike Team Echo was rebuilt. New faces, hardened survivors. But no one smiled anymore. No one joked. Because now we knew. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. And the Voidkin weren't fighting for territory. They were fighting to wipe us out. And if we didn't stop them, they'd succeed. I stood on the observation deck one night, looking out at Earth. Scarred, fortified, alien now, in its own way. A world that had birthed monsters. Us. But maybe that's what was needed now. Because against the Voidkin, there could be no restraint. No hesitation. No limits. We'd burned the stars to survive. Now we'd have to burn even brighter, or be snuffed out forever. 2 months. That's how long it took to prepare for the next strike. 2 months of sleepless nights, relentless drills, and grim faces. After K'tharr Expanse, humanity finally understood. The Voidkin weren't just another alien race. They weren't conquerors. They weren't after territory or resources. They were a purge, a cosmic extinction force. They'd seen what we'd done, to the Zalek, to Karvath, to the other species we burned. And they'd decided to finish what the Zalek had started, to erase us, completely, and they were damn good at it. Earth's High Command pulled no punches this time. They authorized Project Final Dawn, a full-spectrum war plan. Every remaining dreadnought, every cruiser, carrier, and assault ship, every fleet element that could still fight. All of it, aimed at one objective, the Voidkin's home sector, deep within a collapsed cluster of dead stars known only as the Maelstrom Rift. A place no human ship had ever entered, and most wouldn't come back from. But there was no choice. It was simple math. Strike first, or die. If we waited, Earth would burn, humanity would fall, and the stars would go dark. The Revenant was reborn for this fight. Its old wounds patched, its hull layered with new adaptive armor, experimental plating laced with stolen Voidkin biotech. Its guns upgraded with gravitic disruptors, heavy plasma lances, and a prototype weapon that no one dared speak of openly. the Helios Array. A weapon designed to tear apart the fabric of space itself. Desperate times, desperate measures. Strike Team Echo had changed too. Of the original team, only Hawk and I remained. The others gone. Lost at Valor, at Thal, at K'tharr. Our new recruits were young, brutal, trained on nothing but this war. Their eyes were colder than ours ever were. We were humanity's final blade, and we were going in with one order. End them, or die trying. The jump into the Maelstrom Rift was hell. Even the warp corridors fought us. Gravitational shear, temporal distortions, space itself trying to tear us apart. 3 ships vanished before we even reached real space, but the rest punched through, and what we found. God help me. I can still see it when I close my eyes. The rift wasn't just a dead sector. It was a voidkin nest. A biomechanical construct the size of a solar system. Living structures wrapped around black holes, massive tendrils bridging shattered moons and asteroid fields. And at its heart, something vast, something ancient. A core so dark even the stars seemed to recoil from it. We called it the Abyssal Mind, a singular intelligence, the source of their hive coordination, the thing driving their genocidal war. If we killed it, we might stand a chance. If not, it was over. The battle began before we could even form up. Voidkin ships poured from the shadows, more than we'd ever seen. Hundreds, thousands, organic weapons, phasing hulls, drones that swarmed like locusts. Our fleets opened fire, space turned to flame. Rail cannons, plasma storms, antimatter warheads. But they adapted, shields shifting, forms mutating. For every ship we destroyed, 3 more came. Still, we pressed in, because there was no retreat. Not now, not ever. Strike Team Echo's mission was the spear point. Direct assault on the Abyssal Mind. If we could breach it, plant the Helios device, we might collapse the rift entirely, or we'd die in the attempt. We geared up in silence. Armor sealed, weapons locked. Hawk looked at me across the drop bay. His eyes were bloodshot, hollow. "No speeches this time, Jack," he said. "Just kill the bastards." I nodded. No words left. The drop was insane, weaving through collapsing gravity wells, dodging voidkin swarms, flak so dense it felt solid. But we made it. Breach Team Alpha, 8 of us, slammed into the abyssal structure, carving through layers of living metal and bone. What we found inside, it wasn't a station. It wasn't even a ship. It was a living mind, vast, incomprehensible, its walls pulsing with thought and malice. Tendrils of black synapse light twisted through the air. Organic spires rose around us, and the defenders. Voidkin warriors beyond anything we'd faced, armored in shimmering bone, armed with weapons that bent space itself. The fight was brutal. We moved like demons, adrenaline driving us. Grenades tore through waves of attackers, rifles burned dry, blades came out. I fought hand to hand with one, felt its claws slice into my side, pain blooming sharp and cold. But I didn't stop. We couldn't stop. One by one we pushed through, but we lost good men. Rourke, gutted in seconds. Marin, dragged into the walls by something unspeakable. Graves, last stand to buy us seconds, until it was just Hawk and me. Bleeding. Fading. But we reached the core, a vast black sphere, pulsing with alien thought. The abyssal mind, waiting, watching. We armed the Helios device, and that's when it spoke. Not in words, not in sound, in thought, in memory, in raw, searing pain. I saw it. Flashes of ancient wars, of the Voidkin's endless hunger, of their purpose, to cleanse the galaxy of contagion. And in their eyes, we were the contagion, the ones who burned worlds, who wiped out species, the monsters. For a heartbeat, doubt stabbed through me. Were they wrong? But then I saw Earth, burning in my mind's eye, the faces of the dead, the cities gone. And I knew, they started this, and we'd finish it. Hawk's voice was raw as he looked at me. "Do it, Jack." I slammed the trigger. The Helios array activated, a pulse of blinding light tearing through the core. Reality itself screamed. We ran, the rift collapsing around us, tunnels folding, space warping. Hawka fell, crushed by a collapsing spire. His last words. "Finish it." I barely made it back to the evac point, bleeding, broken, half dead. But the device worked. As I watched from the Revenant's bridge, barely escaping, the Maelstrom rift imploded. A shockwave rippled through the sector. Voidkin ships winked out, their hive mind severed. And for the first time in years, silence, cold, empty, victory. When we returned to Earth, there were no parades, no cheers, just tired men and women, soldiers who'd stared into the abyss and walked away, changed, scarred. And knowing one truth, the war wasn't over. It never would be, because out there, in the dark, more threats waited, more stars to burn, and humanity, cold, hardened, relentless, would meet them all, without mercy, without regret, because they struck first, and we would make damn sure they never rose again. 20 years. That's how long it's been since the Maelstrom rift collapsed, since the Voidkin's hive was shattered, since humanity stood alone among the stars, bloodied, victorious, feared. I should have died there, with Hawk, with the others. But fate, or something colder, had other plans. I survived, barely, half my body rebuilt, scars across skin and bone, the kind no surgeon can fix, but I walk, I fight, and I remember. Earth is different now, fortress world, industrial juggernaut, the last echo of what we used to be. The old cities are gone, either ash or remade as war hubs. New spires rise, metal and gunmetal gray, crowned with orbital cannons. Every child learns combat drills by age 6. Every citizen serves. One species, one war, forever. There are no more parliaments, no votes, no dissent, only the united Terran command and its endless fleets. The galaxy remembers, too. They thought we were prey once. Not anymore. Now the outer species hide when our ships enter their space. They send tribute. They beg for time. But we give no peace. No rest. The burning doctrine. It's official now. Any potential threat to Earth is to be neutralized without delay. Permanently. And I enforce it. Still. 20 years later, I'm a sector marshal now, commanding my own strike fleets. We patrol the black, we hunt whispers, we burn embers before they can spark. Some call us tyrants, but they forget. They struck first. They burned our world. Now we will never forget, never forgive. I walk the decks of my flagship, USS Dominion, larger even than the old Revenant. Its walls are lined with battle honors, its crew forged from veterans and orphans of war, and the black beyond is quiet. Too quiet. Because something stirs out there. We hear it, we feel it, new signals, faint, unknown. The galaxy isn't done testing us, and we aren't done reminding them. Humanity will not fall again, not while I breathe, not while Earth burns with the fire of vengeance. Sometimes I look at the stars, at the ruins we've left behind. Karvath, Valar, Thal, the Rift, a galaxy of ashes. And I wonder, was there another way? Another path? Then I remember the screams, the fire, the faces I lost. And I answer myself, no, this is the only way. The way of the blade, the way of the fire, the way of the unbroken. Humanity first, humanity forever. And if the stars dare rise against us again, we will make certain they never rise again.